Welcome. If you are selling or buying a home and relocating, this little section is for you. If a real estate agent sent you to this course, you're working with a good real estate agent. Not to be facetious, but they are obviously comfortable in the quality of the service that they offer, and they're wanting to do the best for you. So, unsolicited plug. Let's get into buying or selling a home. If you're a little more established and you're on the move, be it work or if you're, retiring, downsizing, moving to see the grandkids, I call it following your heart. Uh, this section is just to kind of give you a feel for what to look for when selling your home, purchasing a home, house hunting, etc. First of all, uh, this is the largest asset that most of us have in our lives. And just because you get a postcard from a realtor doesn't necessarily mean they're the right people to sell your home. There's an 80-20 rule in the industry. About 20% of the people sell real estate, 80% of the people are kind of in the game and not in the game, trying to get in the game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when you're buying or selling a home, particularly on the sales end here, it's really recommended that you conduct some interviews and see who's the best person for the job. Another important thing to do, and we talked about it in the rental end of things, is to make sure that you get a moving estimate up front, um, prior to doing anything, because the costs are high, and it's good to have that kind of built into the listing price. We have a lot of expenses, and the move, again, people don't think about the move until the home is sold, and you should really be looking at it as one of the first. I consider it to be the first thing you do is talk to a mover, and then you go out and start looking at listings and things of that nature of listing your home. Some movers will help you stage your home. It's also important. If you are looking at storing some stuff, decluttering, great time to work with a mover or home organizer. And if you're moving a long distance, some of the movers will, well, some of them, all of them will, uh, pick the goods up and put them into storage and then marry them up with the main shipment when it's time to move. That helps you declutter the goods, gives you a place to store them. And then when you actually are ready to move, you just combine the two shipments. They can also do what's called a pre-flow, which is important. If you can't sell your house and you're looking at storage options, maybe you leave the goods in the home and let it sell, and then move your goods ahead of time on what's called a pre-flow, which you can get a lower rate because the weight is kind of, the higher the weight, the less the rate, and they can combine those two and move you. We'll talk about that in storage options, but it is a good option to have. And keeping in mind that it's a lot of money to move these days. So you have to know what it's going to cost you prior to even listing your home. Talked about it before. When you're listing your home, strongly recommend that you get 3 listing presentations and be right up front with them that, listen, I love you, Mary. We're in Little League together, all that good stuff. But I am going to be entrusting my home to the person that I consider to get me the best bang for my buck. Might not be happening now, but going forward, you should be talking about what's called buyer's commissions. Big lawsuit in the US, apparently coming to Canada. Uh, if you're overseas, it may not apply, but if you're looking for a home in your new area, talk about what's referred to as buyer's commission and have your realtor explain that to you so that you understand that if you're working with an agent in a new city, who's responsible to pay their commission, and will they show properties to you if they are not being reimbursed. It's a big deal. Talk to them about what's called buyer's commission. Ask them how long they've been in the business. actively selling real estate. And again, that's a kind of iffy in my head, because young and hungry can many times beat old and grumpy. uh, Real estate is an interesting game. If you're getting someone out of the blocks that really want to make a name for themselves, they may be a real go-getter and a high stepper, as they used to say. And someone that's just been around a long time might just be doing it to you know stay out of the pool hall. Uh, but anyway, you make your call on that, how long they've been in business actively selling real estate. And this is a big one. What is their average list to sale price ratio? It's important. On average, what did they list the homes for and what did they sell them for? And do they have the numbers and locations? The other important thing to keep in mind is that, coming out of certain, is it a buyer's market, is it a seller's market? But coming out of certain situations, we came out of a pandemic. If they're using statistics from the pandemic, throw them in the garbage, basically, because you could put anything on the market and sell anything in days. It wasn't any kind of an indication of what's happening in a slow market. It was a ridiculous, possibly once in a lifetime market where people were offering, sight unseen pricing, no home inspection pricing, bidding, blind bidding wars. It was ridiculous and, in my opinion, criminal. In the situation where a lot of these, homes were being sold, it was just ridiculous. So throw out any of the numbers that were happening in the crazy frenzies of the pandemic. What market are you in right now? Is it a buyer's market or is it a seller's market? Do they have the statistics on that? And how do they plan to market your home in that market? What happens if you have to reduce your price to sell it? Now, there was a study done many years ago about actual real estate agents selling their own homes. And statistically speaking, a realtor will leave their home on the market longer and get more money for it than they will a customer's home. And depending on your timelines, that could be important. But the best scenario for a realtor is to get the house priced right, i.e., that it sells quickly. And what happens if it doesn't sell? What happens if they tell you your home is worth X to get your listing, and then after a month, come back and say, "Oh, I can't sell it that. I have to drop the price." The fact of the matter is that is a few $100s out of a realtor's commission, and it's maybe 10,000s or thousands and thousands of dollars out of your pocket. So be right up front on that. Say, what happens if you can't sell it at that price? And the market will be this and the market will be that. But make them aware that you want a fair listed price, not a low ball so that it sells immediately, but you want something that you can make a buck. And how are they going to sell it? What makes them different from all the others? That's a big one. And again, I sound a little harsh, but I'm not a boutique and a big brand. You're dealing with the agent. You're dealing with multiple listing services. You have a lot of big brands. The brand is in place to attract realtors in many cases, because obviously the brokers paid commission. So the models are set up to attract people into the business. Um, it doesn't necessarily mean just because they have a million offices in every planet in the universe means that they're any better at selling your home. A boutique, on the flip side, they may not just have the horsepower to attract attention like the big brands do, but other than the brand, what makes them different? Can they provide, obviously, 3 referrals? What if you're not happy with their service? What happens? up front. What if you're not doing it for me? What are my recourses? Ask them that. What do you charge for you know commissions? Are they negotiable? And how do they handle that question? Uh, if someone is good at what they do, they're less likely to to cut the price on the commissions. Now they have to prove that. Are you looking at a discount broker, which you know has they don't really sell a house. Somebody walks in and wants it and buys it. Okay, they show homes, so be aware of what the commissions are. Are they worth it? Why are they worth it, etc.? And can you work with that person? That's important. What are they going to do to sell the house? What makes them different? Can you work with them? Kind of get a feel for what they're all about. They'll give you a presentation. They should. It's called a listing presentation, and they'll talk about how they're going to market your home, what they're going to do for you, etc., etc. If they don't cover off any of these questions and on the previous page, then ask up front. Again, this is a business transaction and it has nothing to do. I'm talking the same way about the movers when I get to the movers, so I'm not anti realtor. I'm just saying, as a consumer, this is the biggest piece of business you're going to do in your life. Just because you got a postcard or Mary sees you at the little league games does not necessarily mean they're the best person to sell your home. Maybe you want to sell it yourself. How experienced and comfortable are you in selling real estate? You have to ask yourself these questions. Again, you should check and see what kind of a market you're in too. If it's a real buyer's market, maybe you do sell yourself. Will you be able to show the property to potential buyers? Obviously. Are you familiar with real estate purchase and sales agreements? There's legalities involved that you may not be comfortable with. Do you know what's needed to make the home show well? You can hire professional stagers, but basically it's getting rid of all the personal knickknacks and patty wax, painting in a neutral color, decluttering, uh, you know, positioning the furniture properly, or renting furniture, or some such thing. It's not real rocket science, but you have to make sure the place is ready to be shown, and in the front yard and everything is nice and clean and well kept, and that the interior is neutral. And how flexible or willing are you on the price? Are you willing to negotiate? That's the big one. The good realtors pride themselves on their ability to negotiate, and that can sometimes be a stickler for people. um, there's the I buy houses guys and gals. That group um, basically lowballs the home, and then if it doesn't sell, they'll buy it. The same as a realtor. When they have all buy it in 60 days, that means they priced it so they know they're going to sell it and make money on it. So if you're in a rush, maybe it works, but it's undervaluing your home. So just be aware of that. I'll buy your house if I can't sell it within 30 days, or we buy houses any shape they're in. What they do is they buy it, and then they fix it up and sell it at a fair market price, or the realtor buys it and sits on it and sells it at a fair market price. So don't get overly caught up in that. At any rate, take your time, take a look at them, make sure you go through all of the different points with them, and then make your own decision as to which one you feel most comfortable with. When buying a home, always have a pre-approved mortgage. It's imperative. I'm singing to the choir here, I'm sure, but you have to know how much money you're able to spend. And when you get your pre-approved mortgage and you flip back to that cost of living differential, it's going to show you basically where you should be looking for a home. Um, you may not be able to get into a neighborhood that you want to get into in a area that has a higher cost of living than you do. You may have to move further out into the burbs or look at a longer commute or a smaller home. Um, and you have to account for that right up front. If you're moving into a smaller home, you're going to have to look at getting rid of furniture and making some real decisions when purging as to what you can actually bring to the new location. Maybe you want to get into a smaller home. Maybe you're at a stage in your life where you want to get out of your larger home and get into a smaller condo or whatever. Again, look at these places with the move in mind, and always the reason why I said that during the pandemic, there's a lot of people buying homes, you know, no conditions or, no home inspections and getting into all kinds of trouble with properties and just shabby workmanship and, you know, lots that weren't even the right size, lots of horror stories that went on. And that was just caught up in the frenzy of buying homes. Always make sure it's conditional on both, obviously, pre-approval on the money and a home inspection to make sure that the home is in the proper condition to purchase. Depending on what stage in life you are, have a 5-year plan. We talked about location, location, location. What is your life going to look like in 5 years? Are the kids going to be gone? Are they going to be in university? Are you going to have children? Are you going are there's a number of things that could happen in your life, but take a look at what you think your lifestyle is going to be like in 5 years. If you're moving to a new city and you're buying downtown, and you get married or whatever, you get into a relationship and the burbs look more appealing, the bright lights and loud noise and happening all the time isn't appealing anymore after 5 years. You have to kind of take a look at that. All obviously the crime levels in the area, you can go online and search all of this when looking. um, Distance to work, school, friends, and family. If you're moving because of your heart, if you're moving to the grandkids, do you want to be beside them all the time, or do you want to make a little bit of a commute so that you're not being leaned on too heavy? uh, you make your own call there. Again, work, obviously, how many days do you have to be in the office? What's the commute like? Take a look at the place during busy traffic. If you're moving to a kind of rural property, are there any events that happen in that area that have a whole bunch of people, seasonal stuff happening, tourists and things of that nature? Transit time, major roads, obviously, children parks, playgrounds, everything. Local amenities, entertainment, shopping centers, libraries, restaurants, etc. Are you Is the place up and coming, or is it going and leaving? Are you in a place where it's being gentrified, or is the place kind of going downhill, the neighborhood, if you will? So have a good look at that when you're going in. If you're dealing with a realtor, you can give them all that upfront information. Again, in the US and coming to Canada, ask about buyer's commission. Have that up front so that you know what you're doing when you're purchasing. Rely on your gut instincts and first impressions. Again, location, location, location. What's the curb appeal look like? The condition of the yard. Uh, as importantly, the condition of the neighbors' yards. Anybody who's selling the place is going to hopefully have it looking good. Peek over the fence. What does the neighbor's place look like? And you can see lots of indication of wear and tear. Again, the condo, same as on the rental, check the common areas. Check the common areas, the pools, the gyms, the family rooms or party rooms, as they're called. Are they clean? Are they kept up nicely? Are the exercise rooms and everything in good shape? The grounds, the security. Is there a condo board? Are the finances in good order? Have they been kicking a can down the road for a number of years and the place needs a new roof or major renovations, air conditioning services, that can cost you a lot of money? Private homes, exterior siding, painting, bricks, obviously. Simple enough. Take a look down the side of the building. Is it straight? Does it look solid? You know, condition of the roof, that's where your home inspector comes in and they'll hop up there. You don't have to do so much. The backyard, obviously. If there's pools or sheds, room sizes, again, bring that measuring tape. I talked about this in the rental end of things. Make sure you measure for yourself the actual footage of the rooms. Because, again, um, you know, measure twice, move once. The can you get stuff into the place? Think about, that large sectional sofa you have. Will it fit in the condo? Things of that nature. Windows, floors, plumbing. Obviously, that's the home inspector, the basements. Signs of mold, any place. Um, Rely on your nose. That's the one thing that you can't get from pictures on the internet is what the place actually smells like. And I'm not being, you know, facetious here. The odor, the musk. If they've had pets, is it? Does the place stink? I said it. Don't buy it. And always get a home inspection. If you're buying new, if you're going into a new development, research the builder and visit the model homes. If you're going into an area, usually it's one or two builders that are taking care of all the builds. Take a look at, research them and make sure that they are a good, solid organization. They've got a good um, online presence. Uh, is the person showing the home a buying agent representative? Are they working for you? Make sure they are representing you and not necessarily the builder. Make sure they have your interest in mind. Um, be clear in all aspects of the purchase agreement. Make sure you understand it. Show it to a lawyer if you have to. Ask about timelines and delays. If the home is not finished when your goods are arriving a long distance, you can run into storage costs, which basically is a local move plus storage that can, a few $1,000s easily. Added costs if you can't access that home. So you have to be clear on the timelines as to when your home is going to be finished, and you have to keep in touch with the builder to ensure that those timelines are hit, so you can communicate that to your mover so that it runs again smoothly. New home warranties are an option, obviously. What happens if there is shoddy workmanship? Come right out and ask right up front. What happens if I get there and the drywall is all crooked, or this, that, and the other thing may be wrong? They, have a home inspection done on the new home to make sure it's all up to par. And a little trick is, if the place has, residents, if there are people living in the area, just if you see someone cutting the grass or out, just go over and ask them and say, hey, listen, excuse me, my name is, I'm thinking of purchasing a place here. What was your experience like? And they'll tell you. If it was great, they will tell you it was great. If it was terrible, they will tell you it was terrible. And heed what they say. If they got into the place, there was all kinds of damage, they still haven't fixed it. There's racket, there's this, there's that, the other thing. Have a chat with somebody there. And are they financially sound, the builder? There's been problems whereby builders have went bankrupt through the course of the build. People have lost their down payments, or they've increased their down payments, or they've went out of business. Um, Lots of scary stories where people have fire sold remaining inventory just to get out of the contracts, and because the sale is so low, you automatically lose money just because of the fact that they fire sale out the last few properties. So are they financially sound? when you're purchasing is also uh, something to investigate. Again, we talked about this on the condo end in it, but access to the building. Is if it's a construction site and it's all under construction, it's a new build. Can you get trucks in there? What's the accessibility? Is it container friendly? Big truck friendly and container friendly. Can you get an 18-wheel tractor trailer into the area? That you ask the homeowner or the builder. If you're buying a condo, you have to figure out the access. Can they get a big truck up to your condo? If not, you're going to have to pay for what's called a shuttle service. Or if you're doing it yourself, you're going to have to bag meters. It's called bagging meters. You have to call the city, the traffic department, and have bags put over the meters so you can park your truck up there. If you have a container, if you're looking at using a pod or an international container, if you're coming from overseas, can you put a container near the building or near the property? If it's a rural property, can you get a big truck into the laneway? Start with the end in mind. When you're looking for a home, how do you move into the home? Is it a one-way street? All these little things makes your actual move that much easier because everybody's prepared for it, and you can save thousands and thousands of dollars because you're not being surprised by someone when they get there and say, hey, we can't get this truck near your place. We're going to charge you, you know, $1,000 for what's called a long carry or a shuttle service. So be clear on that. Furniture access, can you get your stuff into it? If you measured twice, you can kind of figure out what fits. King size beds are notorious for older homes trying to get them in elevators. They may have to carry the goods upstairs. It's called a long carry, or there's all kinds of things that can happen. So just take a few pictures and figure out how you get your stuff in there. And of course, rural properties. Are there overhanging trees? If you're going down a long laneway, is it a windy road? Can you get near the place? Um, I talked about it before. Downtown Montreal, Manhattan, Toronto. Really difficult to get stuff moved into buildings just because of the size restrictions. A lot of cities, you'll automatically get a shuttle. You can't take a tractor trailer downtown New York City. You have to offload the goods and put them in a smaller truck and deliver them. That has to be made clear to the moving consultant when you're getting your estimate as to the location. And you get that priced in so that you're aware of it and you're not getting, scary costs when you get there. Or if you're doing it yourself, you have to be aware of this if you are driving a truck uh, down to some of these heavily congested areas, and be aware, can you do it? Can you drive a big truck into the new home? Something to think about. You find a new place, you sell your home, you break your lease, you leave the nest, it's go time. We're going to talk about the actual move coming up. This was a kind of short session. The main takeaway here is to make sure you have a pre-approved mortgage, make sure you're working with a professional realtor. Talk about this new thing that's happening now, that's buying commission, and purchase and look at your properties with the move in mind. Can you get your stuff in there? Will your stuff fit? And of course, timelines on the closing of both properties. We talked about the TTG. We'll talk about it again. Movers don't pick up your stuff and drive direct. There's a timeline involved, a transit time that we'll go into more details. Always try to get your keys before you move in. Don't move in on the same day you're getting your keys for your new home. And let's go on to the next session. which is all about the actual physical move. Let's go. Thanks for staying with me. Cheers.